All right, we'll get started here. I want to thank everybody for joining us. We're excited to talk about meditation today and meditation for high performance, whether that means you're an athlete, a career professional, or really just somebody who wants to get started. So I know our guest here, Rick Waite, he's a Harvard-trained, San Diego-based lawyer. He's in private practice with the law firm of Keeney, Waite, and Stevens. Rick is a real estate investor, writer, and surfer. I've known Rick for quite some time, and Rick has been a personal mentor of mine and a great friend. So I'm really thankful that he agreed to join us today and do this. And Rick's taught hundreds of people from ages 8 to 80 how to meditate. He actually established one of the first meditation for lawyers programs in the United States at the San Diego County Bar Association. Rick mentioned he began his meditation practice almost 50 years ago. So I know he's excited to share a lot with you all today on how to meditate. And I guess before we get started, maybe Rick, just maybe give everybody a little bit of background on how you got started meditating, maybe who introduced the concept to you, why you continue to kind of maintain such a commitment to making meditation part of your daily routine.
Sure. Thanks, Matthew. And I must say, it's very nice to be back in New Jersey, even virtually, because I grew up in New Jersey in Lawrenceville. I'm a proud graduate of Lawrence High School. So nice to be with you all. I started my meditation practice in 1971 when I was a Harvard freshman. My football season was interrupted by a bout with mononucleosis, and I was in the hospital for a week. And when I got out, I was behind, very stressed out. And on top of that, I was concerned about being drafted into the US Army after my first semester at Harvard because the Vietnam War was going on at the time. And in the midst of all of that, I heard about this program called Transcendental Meditation. And at that time, back in the early 70s, it was all the rage pretty much all over the world because the founder, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, was the guru to the Beatles, and he got a lot of international publicity. And these transcendental meditation centers grew up all over the country and all over the world. They happened to have one in Cambridge. And so I went and checked it out, and I decided to sign up for the program, and I learned how to meditate. Unfortunately, it didn't stick. And after about a month of meditating, I stopped. Fast forward 39 years later, the year 2010, and I'm very busy in my law practice, working 8 to 10 to 11 hours a day. My mother was very seriously ill, and I was drinking more alcohol than I wanted. And I said, something's got to give. I've got to find some way to manage this stress and anxiety that I'm experiencing. A friend mentioned that you could get a refresher course at Transcendental Meditation if you ever had attended a TM program. And so I signed up for the refresher course and started meditating again. And very shortly after I started meditating again for the first time in 39 years, I went from my afternoon meditation straight to dinner, and I realized halfway through dinner that I didn't have my usual 2 vodka on the rocks drinks. And I said, that's weird. The next night, the same thing happened, and I said, maybe I'll stop drinking for a week. The third day, I said to myself, that's it, I'm done drinking alcohol. And I poured my bottle of Absolute vodka down the drain. I haven't had a drink since. That was September 8th, 2010. Now, some people might say that's a coincidence. I think that was directly related to my getting back into meditation after that long layoff. So that's kind of my journey with meditation. And currently, I meditate every day, usually twice a day, but I almost never miss a day. It's part of my routine. I get up in the morning, I have my coffee, I journal for a while, and then I meditate. And it has made all the difference in my life. And that's why I want to share the gift of meditation with as many people as possible. And that's why I'm here today.
That's great. Thanks, Rick. And just one follow-up. I mean, you've had a lot of success in your career as an attorney, as a real estate investor, in other ways. Do you feel that meditation can play a role in high-level performance, kind of for young athletes, college or professional athletes, career professionals? What do you think? How do the two tie in together?
Yeah, in my mind, there's no doubt that meditation can be very, very helpful to anyone, including high school athletes, college athletes, professional athletes. And there are many, many very well-known, very prominent athletes who are meditators. LeBron James meditates. Barry Zito, the former Oakland Athletic and San Francisco Giant pitcher, he meditates. Kobe Bryant was a big meditator. He credited meditation to a lot of his success. Misty May, one of the greatest beach volleyball players of all time, two-time Olympic champion, she's a big meditator. In the business world, there are many, many prominent people who swear by meditation. Steve Jobs was a regular meditator. Bill Gates, who actually was at Harvard the same time I was, he and his wife Melinda meditate regularly. And just a little anecdote about him, when I was at Harvard, a good friend of mine was in a poker group with Gates, and the line on Gates was that he's a pretty good student, but he's not a very good poker player. And he dropped out in his junior year and went on to found, of course, Microsoft. There's another guy you might not have heard of by the name of Ray Dalio. Ray Dalio is the founder of the biggest hedge fund in the world, called Bridgepoint. And Ray Dalio has been meditating for 40 years, and he credits meditation with every significant idea that he has had in his extremely successful hedge fund business. Oprah meditates. Jeff Bridges meditates regularly. Howard Stern, I would have never thought that Howard Stern was a big time meditator. He swears by it. Jerry Seinfeld. And also Jimmy Fallon. I would not have thought that Jimmy Fallon is a meditator. He says in this book by Tim Ferriss, who's also a big meditator, Tribe of Mentors, it's a great book. Jimmy Fallon says, if you can train your brain to do it, like anything, playing the guitar, doing impressions, driving stick shift, it's a great skill to have. It just takes practice. Every smart person and stable person I know meditates. Try and do it every day. So there are a lot of prominent people and a lot of people you never heard of who meditate every day, and it's a big part of their lives. One of my friends and clients meditates 2 hours every day. It's so important to him. He gets so much benefit from it that he devotes 2 hours every day, 7 days a week, to meditation. And you can also use meditation to enhance your creativity. And that's what my friend Carl did when he was trying to figure out a name for his health food restaurant. He came down from Santa Barbara to San Diego to start a new restaurant. He had the concept, he had the lease, he had his general manager, he was hiring his employees. He didn't have a name for the restaurant. He sat down and meditated with the intention of coming up with a name, and it came to him during the meditation. And now we have this restaurant that has been very successful for 15 years, Lotus Cafe. So there are many ways that meditation can help every one of us, whether you're an elite athlete or not. And one of the main benefits of meditation is an immediate benefit that you frequently get during and immediately after your meditation. And there are hundreds of scientific studies that bear this out. But there are changes in your metabolism, there are changes in your brain, in your respiration that occur when you meditate. And what it does is it stills the mind and it stills the body. And for most of us, we have what is called a monkey mind. The monkey mind is when our minds are going off in every direction, every second or two. Our thoughts never stop. We're bombarded with all of these thoughts that cause us to become stressed and anxious. It's like a monkey swinging through the forest from tree to tree. We just can't stop it. What meditation can do is it can help you tame that monkey mind. It's like maybe when you were a kid, you had a snow globe, little round glass globe with artificial snow and maybe a snowman planted on the bottom. And when you shook it, this fake snow would swirl around, all around the snow globe. And after 2 or 3 minutes, all that snow would settle to the bottom and it was clear. That's what your mind is like before and after your meditation. Before the meditation, it's a snow globe and these thoughts are going all over the place. After the meditation, your mind is calm. So that's one of the great short-term benefits to meditation. And even one meditation, and we're going to do a meditation in a little bit, and many of you, I expect, will feel that sense of calm, that sense of being grounded, the sense of equanimity that you get immediately after your meditation. But in addition to that, there are long-term effects to meditation. And those long-term effects are an overall sense of calm, equanimity, non-reactiveness. Instead of reacting in a knee-jerk manner when something unexpected happens, we can step back and be a little more thoughtful and maybe get a 10,000 foot above the earth perspective about what's happening rather than just reacting as we've been conditioned to strike back in anger or frustration and react a little bit more thoughtfully, a little more calmly. And many people, myself included, who have established a meditation practice have learned that it can also reduce our stress and anxiety. Let's face it, if you're alive and conscious in the year 2020, you are experiencing anxiety. All of us experience anxiety. For some of us, on a scale of 1 to 10, it might be a 1. For some of us, it might be a 9 or a 10. And we carry that around with us all the time. And if you establish a regular meditation practice, you can reduce that general anxiety level from a 7 to a 3 or a 4. But those types of fundamental changes, like anything else, don't happen overnight. And the benefits really become apparent when you establish a regular meditation practice. Matthew, you played baseball and you had to be a pretty good hitter. Well, you got to be a pretty good hitter because you spent thousands of hours in that batting cage. If you're a basketball player and you want to be good, you're shooting threes day and night, over and over and over again. And the more you put into it, the more you're going to get out. And it's the same thing with meditation. The more meditation sessions that you have, the more effective they're going to be. So if there's one thing you take away from this today, all of you who are listening and watching, I urge you to consider establishing a daily meditation practice where you take 10 minutes out of your day and you sit quietly and do the breath-based meditation that I'm going to teach you in a few minutes. And if you do, I think the chances are very good that it will have a very significant positive impact on your life, as it has for millions of other people.
Amazing. Thanks a lot, Rick. I think at this point, if you're ready to go, we can get started with your coaching session and show us how it's done. That'll be my first time personally.
It's going to be my first time personally on a virtual meditation, so this is going to be great. I'm looking forward to it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to run through how to meditate. And then I'm going to do it a second time just to make sure that everybody gets it. So for now, just listen. We're not meditating yet. What we're going to do is a simple breath-based meditation. I like to say there are 10,000 ways to meditate. And really, that's not even correct. There are more than 10,000 ways to meditate. This is one, and this is one very simple, effective way to meditate. You can get very creative. There are guided meditations. There are meditations where there are walking meditations. There are meditations with chanting. There are meditations with gongs. There are so many ways to meditate. I like to keep it simple. And this 10-count breath meditation has proven to be very easy to understand and to implement and very effective. So what we're going to do in a minute, not yet, I'm going to ask you to sit in your chair with a straight back, very straight back, not hunched over. Close your eyes and count your breaths. You will count your breaths until you hit 10, and then you'll go back to 1. And so it's like this. Inhale, exhale. 1. Inhale, exhale. 2. You get to 3, you get to 10, and then you start back to 1. For most of us, we're going to lose our attention from our breath. And we may only get to 3, and we start thinking about that argument we had with our girlfriend last night, or what we're going to have for dinner, or that paper that's due tomorrow, or what college am I going to apply to. When we lose our attention in the meditation, we simply return to our breath and our counting, and we return to 1. And some people say, Rick, I kept counting, and I get to 3 or 4, and then my mind would wander, and it'd be 30 or 60 seconds before I realized it, and I can't meditate. I'm terrible at this. And they beat themselves up for no good reason, because this is very important. That happens to all of us. I've been meditating seriously now for 10 years, and my mind wanders. And it's the losing of attention to the counting and bringing your mind back to your breath that is part of the meditation experience. Losing it, regaining it. Losing it, regaining it. That is part of the meditation process. You're not expected to go from 1 to 10 without having any thoughts going out into the ether. So if that happens, and it may, during our short meditation, please don't beat yourself up and say, I'm terrible at this, I can't meditate. Just come back to the breath. Does that make sense? So we're going to sit. You can sit on the floor cross-legged. You can sit on the couch cross-legged. You can sit in a chair with your feet on the ground. You put your hands on your thighs in a comfortable position, back straight, and then you take a deep breath and you start to count to 10. So, is everybody ready? All right, get in that position. I'm going to cross my legs in my couch. That's the way I like to meditate. Straight back. Take a deep breath. Close your eyes. And start counting your breath to 10. Your mind wanders. You lose attention. Simply return to the breath. In a moment, not yet, I'm going to ask you to open your eyes. And when you do, I'm going to ask you to compare how you felt before you started this meditation with how you feel now. And I want you to remember that the way you feel now, you can feel anytime you want by sitting quietly, closing your eyes, and counting your breath. When you're ready, open your eyes, move your hands, move your feet. So for many of you, right now, you might feel calm, relaxed, grounded, sense of equanimity. And the way you feel right now, even if you're a first-time meditator, you can feel anytime you want by sitting for even 5 or 10 minutes, closing your eyes and counting your breath. That's meditation. There's nothing complex or necessarily mystical about it. It's a technique. It's a technique that's helped many people, including myself. You don't need a course. You don't need a book. You don't need a guru. You don't need me. All you need to do is to sit quietly, close your eyes, count your breath. So any questions, comments?
We do have some questions. One question was about breathing. Is the breathing in through the nose, out through the nose unforced?
That's a good question. I should have said, for most people, it's breathing in and out through the nose, and it's your natural breathing. There are meditations where you do breathing exercises. Those are some of the 10,000 ways to meditate. But for this meditation, it's a simple breathing in and out through your nose.
We have somebody here that mentions they feel energized, reset. Much of the emotional turmoil has subsided. How often do you meditate per day? About 5 to 10 minutes, did you say? Is that what you're thinking, Rick?
Well, for first-time meditators, 5 to 10 minutes is great. 3 minutes is great. I do about 20 minutes in the morning and then 10 to 20 minutes in the afternoon. Sometimes, the other day I had a 45-minute meditation. I don't time it. I don't have a timer. It's whatever you're comfortable with. But if you want to establish a meditation practice, like anything else, and I think most of the audience here is composed of disciplined people, athletes, business people, professional people, teachers. And if you can make meditation part of your daily routine, the chances are you're going to see tremendous benefits. And to me, it's like brushing my teeth. And if I miss it in the morning, I know I've got all day to make it up. And as I said before, I must never miss a day meditating. And the key is much better to have 7 10-minute meditations in the course of a week than 2 50-minute meditations. That daily practice is extremely important.
A couple here. So a couple of questions that maybe tying together. So just so we're counting our breaths up from 1 to 10, and then back down to 1, and then back up to 10, and we're concentrating on our breaths in order to relax.
Well, that's an interesting observation, because what I thought I described was counting to 10 and then going back to 1, not going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, but going 1 to 10 and then back from 1 to 10 again. But doing it that way works too. And if you consistently go 1 to 10 and then 9, 8, 7, 6 back to 1, that works too. And I've seen so many people create their own meditations, and whoever did that, and it's probably my fault for not being a good teacher, but whoever did that, it may be that for them, counting up to 10 and then back to 1 works. And if that works, go for it. Some people meditate by focusing on an object. They will look with their eyes open or at half-mast at a rose or a vase or the sky, and they will concentrate on that, and that works for them. I've had 10-year-old children say, "Oh, this is how I meditate," and I'm blown away. And it's like, that works for you, go for it.
And these breaths, are these deep breaths, regular breaths?
Regular breath. Regular breaths. Very comfortable breathing.
Great.
Yeah.
We have a question here. So do you find this more calming than a guided meditation?
It's all personal preference. For me, I rarely do guided meditations. I use about 3 different meditations, but they're all silent meditations. They're not guided meditations. For some people, the guided meditations work much better. And there are guided meditations to energize you. There are guided meditations to help you sleep. There are guided meditations to help you release stress. And there are some great apps. I don't use them, but I know a lot of people do. Insight Timer is a great free app that has thousands of meditations. They're all free and they're all guided. And it's all whatever works for you.
Question here. Does it matter what time of the day, evening or night, the meditation breaks are done?
Again, that's personal preference, but I think for most people, meditating early in the morning before your day starts is a good way to start the day off right. It grounds you, it centers you. Other people, a good friend of mine, one of my surfing buddies who's a dentist, he's been meditating for 35 or 40 years. He meditates every night before he goes to bed, and then he prays after that. And he meditates with his wife. So that works for them. Anytime's a good time to meditate, except it's not a good time to meditate after you've had a big, heavy meal, because that has a tendency to make one fall asleep. So,
few more questions here. How does this help with frustration, anger, anxiety?
it helps, I think, with all of those things, again, especially if you have a regular practice. As I said before, for many people, myself included, after establishing a meditation practice, I'm more present. I have a better perspective on the world. I don't get as emotional, and I don't get as reactive. And a good friend of mine, who's actually a Buddhist monk, likes to tell the story about a young man that he taught how to meditate, who was an athlete. He was a high school athlete. He was, a big man on campus, and he had a really attractive girlfriend, and he'd been meditating for a couple of weeks. And my friend Jeff asked him, "So how's meditation going, John?" He goes, "It's going really well. I was at this party the other night, and this guy started hitting on my girlfriend. And I was just about to whack him, and I thought, hold on, I don't have to do that. I don't have to hit him. I can talk to him. I can be calm. I can react differently than I would have 2 months ago." And after thinking about it for a moment, I smacked him. So, it's a work in progress. And maybe a year later, he wouldn't hit the guy. But it's all about providing some space between the stimulus, the angry comment, the frustrating comment, the nasty comment, the shove, whatever it is, and the response. Instead of boom, boom, it's boom. You wait. And while you're waiting, you formulate a better response rather than the knee-jerk response. He pushed me, I'm going to push him back. That is one of the great benefits that many people have from meditation.
This is a question more about maybe your setup here. So we have a question. I had trouble maintaining my posture, but then we'll just start back at one. Any recommendations on how to keep your back straight? And then also here, is it okay to do this laying down?
If you're doing a meditation to help you fall asleep, it's a good idea to be laying down. Other than that, I'd say it's probably a good idea to be sitting up straight. And I would find a comfortable chair. And if it's a relatively stiff wooden chair that helps you be straight, I would use that. If it's a couch, that works. You can experiment. You can have your feet on the ground. You can sit cross-legged. I like to have a back support. Some people meditate without any support whatsoever, and they're very good, and they have good posture, and they're able to stay straight.
Last question here. Can you concentrate on a thought, like a foul shot or object such as a sunset, with your eyes closed?
That's another way to meditate, and that's what many elite athletes do. They will meditate on making that foul shot. Stephen Curry, the NBA basketball star, one of the best players in the game today, he meditates before every game. And I expect that part of what he does, like many great athletes, is he meditates and visualizes what he's going to do on the court later that night. So yes, that is another way. That's another one of those 10,000 ways to meditate.
And I assume early on, maybe yawning is natural. Maybe a little getting, yeah.
Yawning is natural. Yawning is very common. And somebody asked the Dalai Lama once, "So every time I meditate, I start to fall asleep. Do you have any recommendations?" And he said, "Yes, I do. Get more sleep." So, but that's another reason why it's a good idea to meditate when you're fresh, rather than when you're really tired or right after you've had a big meal. Although for many people, when they're really tired, and myself included, many times it'll be the end of the day, I'm really dragging, I'm really tired, and I'll meditate for 10 or 15, 20 minutes, and I'm re-energized.
Great. I think that's all the questions we have so far. If there's any last minutes, shoot them in there. But otherwise, I have one more here. Yeah. So it says thank you, and hopefully this was a start to a peaceful, long journey. It's great. So,
Great.
yeah, Rick, thank you very much. Really appreciate the time and the coaching session here. And you know, this was really. I think that a lot of our viewers, like you mentioned, are very, you know, maybe dedicated, hardworking people. But you know, sometimes it's nice to have some way of reflection, and talking about mindfulness and meditation is something that I know we're looking at to being more involved in as a company. So thanks a lot for kind of launching this and getting us kind of started in this journey. Thanks again, Rick.
I hope you'll come back, Rick.
Anytime. Happy to share the gift. Thank you so much for allowing me to do that. I wish everyone all the best. Stay safe.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Take care,
you.
everybody.
Okay.